Good afternoon, Blues fans, and welcome to live knockout Champions League action here on the fifth stand. Chelsea 0 Wolfsburg. In fact, Chelsea 0 Wolfsburg, quite a few more than that. Let us hope that today is the day. It's the second leg of a quarter-final tie that's thrillingly poised. Started, well, at least the second half did, with yet another Sam Kerr goal last week, and yet again set up by Frank Kirby. Helen Ward alongside me. It's a great finish from a tight angle, isn't it? And then it got even better.
Fantastic finish. The vision from Frank Kirby there to see that pass was great, and then that goal took everyone by surprise, including the cameraman.
Pernilla Harder against her former club. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of that today. Dominic Janssen, sadly, stuck a penalty in about 10 minutes after that. That's just tightened things up a bit. An away goal, lest we forget, sharpened up our second leg here to a very pointy point indeed, but they're not used to losing any games at all, Wolfsburg. They've had a lot of disappointment over the years in this competition at the hands of Lyon. They have won it before. They've won it at Stamford Bridge. It's the one bit of silverware I'm sure you don't need reminding that Emma Hayes and her players have not yet hoovered up over the years during which there have been 3 separate eliminations at the hands of the German giants. But no doubt about it, Chelsea have been closing the gap all the while. As of this moment, in European terms, Wolfsburg remain the nemesis. Now is the time to turn them from conquerors into conquered. Let's have a look at the team news for Chelsea. Well, 2 different names today in terms of the 11 that started a week ago, both interesting. Erin Cuthbert is preferred to G in midfield. Get Helen's thoughts on that in a minute. And Jess Carter starts at right back, barely been starting at all in her time at Chelsea, with Niamh Charles absent, and of course Maren Mjelde long-term absentee now. Russian officials in charge. A handful of the Blues regulars didn't start the weekend win over Villa, so hopefully there will be a bit of freshness there. I'm sure we're going to need it. 1 Wolfsburg change today, 2 for Chelsea. There they are. Is that how you expect them to line up, Helen?
I think so, yeah. I think Sophie Ingle may be the deeper of those players, and Pernilla Harder often has a bit more of a free role, so it might animate slightly differently. But yeah, I think that's generally the shape that we'll be looking to go with today.
G dropping to the bench, and Bethany England is okay following concussion, at least we think and hope she is. For Wolfsburg, 1 change today, and it's out of necessity. Oberdorf suspended. Rebecca Blomqvist starts instead, albeit further upfield, we think. So it seems, at least, a slightly more attacking lineup, which includes some survivors from their various victories over the Blues, like Eva Pajor and the captain, Pop. Tons of experience on their bench, players who've been there and done it. Jakabvi scored a hat-trick at the Bridge, Anna Blesser, Gersling, Dickenman. Familiar foes for Chelsea. 2 clubs who win almost every game they play. Wolfsburg had their own long hot streak ended by Chelsea. Can the Blues run extend to another 90 minutes here? Don't even need to win it. A draw will do. Away goals may well become a factor. It's a tight one to call, Helen, isn't it? But it should be great.
It is a very tight one. I think, you know, that balance of knowing that an early away goal can really help them, but at the same time, like you said, they don't need to go and win it. So it's making sure they get that balance right. They don't go all out, but also they don't sit back too far, that they invite the pressure on, because we saw last week that Wolfsburg will create chances, and you know, we may not get away with so many sort of posts being hit and Katzenberger being on scintillating form. So it's going to be a bit like a game of chess at times, I think, tonight.
What about Jess Carter? Huge afternoon for her.
It is. I mean, I watched a lot of her when she was at Birmingham, and she was tipped to be the next big thing, the next superstar for England. Got her well-deserved move to Chelsea, and for one reason or another it hasn't quite worked out as I'd imagine she'd hoped. Combination of injuries and other players keeping her out of the side, but you know, she's still a very talented player, and Emma Hayes definitely, you know, she trusts her and she's put her in there. Just watching Sam Kerr here.
Can't stop scoring at the moment. One more for 20 goals this season. I think she's got Frank Kirby to thank for, well, about 18 of those.
Yeah, they've struck
unbelievable.
They have struck up quite a partnership, and you know, earlier in the season she was missing a lot of chances, and I'm sure she'll be the first to say that her finishing wasn't as clinical as she'd hope and as she'd expect. But certainly in the latter part of the season, the second half of the season, she's been on absolute fire.
Erin Cuthbert. Busy industry will be important today. Just a bit too much on that one. Well, Wolfsburg will be feeling the pressure for sure. It's on both of them. It's a better level of opponent than they face most weeks, if not all. But they have such little experience of losing, that's the thing. I was just looking at some of their numbers, Helen. 2 years ago, exactly today, they beat Bayern to start a run. 65 matches since and including that, and they've won 60 of them.
It's not bad, is it? They're quite a force to be reckoned with, and you know, I think there's a massive amount of mutual respect between these two sides. Wolfsburg know that they've had the better of Chelsea in the past, but then Chelsea go and pinch the best player in the world from them, and all of a sudden things are a little bit more even, you know, as well as all of the other world-class players that Chelsea have in their books. I think they've really stepped up in recent seasons on the European front anyway. And yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game. It's probably the tie of the competition so far, and you know, at 2-1 it's perfectly poised.
Given away cheaply by Janssen. Here comes Kirby. Harder's in the middle. Kerr's in the middle. It's not going to break for either of them. Yes, definitely that gap has been closing. I remember interviewing Emma after the first Wolfsburg tie at Wheatsheaf Park all that time ago, and she said, that's the level I'm aiming for, and it'll take us a couple of years, but we're going to get there.
And here they are.
Yeah, and it was another level then. When you saw that, you thought, oh, okay, right. Yeah, they're good. Yeah,
for sure. And traditionally, they've been very good for a long time. And it does take time for other teams to catch up. And Emma Hayes has recognised that. The signing she's made, the investment the club have made, has gone on to prove that that's what was needed. And you know, they've got quite a settled sort of 15 players that can come in and out of the side, as you know, in the big games that will generally start. And you can see that in the, you know, we've already talked about Sam Kerr and Frank Kirby up front there. The amount of times they used to change that front sort of 2 or 3 players sometimes didn't lead to as much consistency, but they've struck up a partnership that is the one for the big games that Emma Hayes chooses to go with. Similar with the midfield. I know we've got Erin Cuthbert in there today, perhaps for her energy, but Sophie Ingle and Melanie Leupolz seem to be a core of that midfield, you know, to get the ball under and control the game from that area of the pitch. And again at centre half with Millie Bright and Magda Eriksson, there's that spine of the team that generally stays the same, and I think that's really helped Chelsea over the last couple of years.
Wolfsburg have the free kick. By the way, those 3 losses they've had in the 65 games. Lyon in the final of this competition, Bayern, to whom they trail incidentally in the league by 5 points, and that never happens, and Chelsea last week. Here's Hendrick, the right back. Should be Burgers, and is.
She was on absolute flames last week. Berger in the Chelsea goal. Took a little bit of a knock towards the end of the game that looked like it could be a bit of a worry, but it's good to see her out there today and taking that one confidently, nice and early.
Finished on one leg, almost, and has had quite a lot going on. Some penalty saves in this Champions League run, even conceded one of them herself.
I think she's one of the signings that has helped bridge that gap. You know, Chelsea have had some fantastic goalkeepers, but I think Berger's been on another level, and it still surprises me so much that she hasn't had many opportunities with the German national team. I mean, they must have some incredible goalkeepers if she's around the age that she is and she's not had too many games or, you know, even selections in camps. It says a lot about their goalkeeping options.
Chelsea free kick here. Petrozhinek, who's in goal for Wolfsburg, keeps Almut Schult out the side. She's got 69 German caps. That's part of the reason Berger hasn't played so much. But pop on Kerr. Chelsea ball here. By the way, we already know that the winner of this tie will play the winner of the Bayern-Rosengard tie in the semi-final. Lyon PSG was supposed to finish today as well. That's a teaser. But that has fell foul of COVID. Erin Cuthbert delivers. Not well enough, actually. But Lou Potts will pick it up. Anderson takes over. Here's Millie Bright on the right wing.
She used to play as a more attacking player, so it's not too unfamiliar for her. I remember when she was at Doncaster, she used to play as a 9 or a 10, sometimes drifting into those wide positions. Obviously didn't get quite much joy out there just now, but yeah, she's even though she's developed into a fantastic centre-back, she's always a threat in attacking set-piece situations.
She can hit a super long ball as well from the back, which may become a factor in this game. And remember that Champions League debut for her and the side. It was her and Drew Spence in central midfield at Wheatsheaf Park against Glasgow City. And here she comes again. In that match, she put in the hardest 50-50 tackle I've ever seen. And everybody in Wheatsheaf Park stood up and applauded it. Now, another problem here at right back, surely. No Charles, no Mjelde. What's happened to Jess Carter here? She's had various injury issues. It's why she's only started 10 times in the WSL for Chelsea in her 3 years. Just a jarring landing. Those are the ones that worry you more than most, actually.
Yeah, she just went over on her ankle there. Those can be sore. Sometimes they feel a lot worse to begin with than they turn out to be. If she can get up and get it moving, she might be okay, but they do hurt. They're very sore, and I can understand why she's taken her time with this. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and she can get through. The trouble is, if she gets to half-time, that's when it could seize up, but hopefully she'll be okay.
Drinks on board on a warm day. A chance for an early team talk if Emma fancies it. What would she be saying about these opening 8 minutes and how it's gone and where it's going, Helen?
I think they've started well. As we've seen most of the ball in the Wolfsburg half. They had the one cross that Berger came and collected quite comfortably. But most of the play has been up this end of the pitch, which is promising for Chelsea. I think Emma Hazel will obviously be happy with that. Just haven't quite managed to create an opening just yet, but it's been positive. And yeah, Wolfsburg know that they're not just going to sit back and let them come at them.
Looks like she's okay, jogging back on. Jess Carter, big afternoon for her. Here's the skipper, Eriksson to Bright. That most regular of spines back there, barely miss a game between them. Started all but one of the league matches, the pair of them.
I mean, in the league they don't have to do too much work, so it enables them to keep playing, you know, week in, week out. Don't get so much of the burnout in the legs that some of the more attacking players get in this Chelsea team. But it's good stability, and it's a great foundation for Chelsea to work off when you've got two centre-backs of the quality of those two.
Here's Hoot. Hendrick continuing a run, underlapping right back. Hoot with the cross. Carter with the header. And Ingle gets rid. Rauch now, the left back on the move. She's going to be quick enough to get there too. 3 green shirts in the box. And that was really awkward. It was over Berger, but Magda Eriksson was there. Scary moment.
Yeah, and that's a similar pattern to last week, where Chelsea looked to be quite in control of the game, but one moment and all of a sudden you're clearing it off of your own goal line. So they have to be so aware of it. The wide areas, again, that's where they caused problems last week.
That ball was on, but to Kirby. Came a fraction late, was a fraction short anyway. Blomqvist pointing to where she wants it. It's going to go for Hoot instead. It's overhit. And for now, at least, danger averted. Well, they've got to score, obviously. But they hopefully will forget about keeping the back door shut. That was awkward. Did it just take a nick off Kirby on the way in?
It did, yeah. I think I was wondering how it came so close to the goal, to be honest. But yeah, it just took a little nick, which put an awkward spin on the ball. I don't know whether Berger just got the faintest of touches as well, but great defending by Magda Eriksson on the line.
Hoot. That stayed in off Anderson.
I think we're also seeing there that the reason that Erin Cuthbert has maybe come in for G, I found last week that Rolfo and Huth in the wide areas were causing quite a few problems for Chelsea, and Cuthbert's maybe just come in to help Anderson on this left-hand side and use her energy to good effect defensively.
Blomqvist squares it and gets it back. Chelsea just having a little spell of having to do some defending here. You don't want it to get too frantic. Just keep them at arm's length. Last 16 in 2016, the last 16 again the year after. Then a semi-final in 2018. One of 3 times that Wolfsburg have knocked out Chelsea in elimination matches in this competition. They have their own nemesis though. Lyon, there's a foul there. Pernilla Harder would love to run off, but she's not going to be able to because Pop's been fouled. Yes, Wolfsburg have lost 3 finals, 2016, 18 and 20 to Lyon. Pernilla Harder knows that pain.
It's funny, clubs do come up against sides that just, for whatever reason, whether it's, you know, in the first instance it's just that bit of quality, but it becomes a bit of a mental battle when you come up against those teams. And even if you feel like your squad and your team is good enough to win and compete, there's just that little mental block at times until you get that first result where there's that little seed of doubt, and that can make all the difference.
That's why this game feels so important for that. Here's Hendrick. It's a good spell this from Wolfsburg. Thankfully it's an overhit cross. There's so little missing from this Emma Hayes squad and their achievements and what they've got. Basically, this competition is it. This opponent, in a way, is it. That is almost like it's the only step left to take.
Yeah, and you know, if they come through this tie, no matter what happens then in the rest of the competition, if they end up making the final or not, I think this is a massive step. If they can get through this tie and overcome, like we said, their foe of the last few seasons, it will make a massive difference in future campaigns.
They're very deep as this cross comes in, which makes it awkward. There was a lot of traffic, and Ann-Katrin Berger did absolutely superbly to come through the crowd and get good distance on the punch. My goodness, they were deep there, but that's a good ball. Kirby scurrying through. Very neatly mopped up. There's always that threat, and then any point remotely early in this game, Chelsea get 1 away goal, then they're going to be really worried about a second.
Yeah, and that just needed a little bit more on that pass and it would have been perfect. I mentioned a couple of times in commentary in the first leg that the pitch was quite slow. I mean, it doesn't seem so bad today, but it's not moving particularly fast. If there was just a bit of water on the pitch, I think that ball would have carried through to Kirby and she'd have been 1-on-1.
I think you're absolutely right. It is sticking, you can see it. Here's Ingle.
And you can see the weather, it's obviously very warm over there, so that's going to dry it out as well. You know, these sides like to play their football on the floor and they want to zip it about, and it just sometimes just holds up and delays that pass and gives the defending team an opportunity to recover. But yeah, it was almost perfect from Sam Kerr.
It's the tiny adjustments you have to make. You're used to playing a ball at a certain weight, a fraction less or a fraction more, but it's a really good spot. It is definitely just dragging a bit across this turf.
Yeah, and that's not going to get any better until, you know, they potentially put some sprinklers on at half-time.
Maybe half-time,
so,
yeah.
You know, they're going to have to bear that in mind for the rest of the half, that it's only going to potentially get slower.
Jess Carter displeased with herself for that distribution. It's not just Wolfsburg that win all the time. The Blues have won 24 out of 29 across all the competitions this term. And even that draw with Atletico was a second leg that, in essence, didn't matter that it was a draw. We've had the shock defeat to Brighton that no one saw coming. A shock defeat really early in the season at Everton in the Cup. Got past Atletico even with Sophie Ingle there, giving them a head start. Like getting sent off in the 6th minute and a penalty.
Yeah,
Still.
I mean, for me, having seen it back, I think it was quite harsh. I know there's that rule where if you're not playing for the ball, then it is a red card. But I'm not even convinced she touched her. I think the players kicked her own heel, if I'm honest. And from speaking to Soph, she said the referee told her she pushed her, and that's why she sent her off. But there's definitely no hands involved, so I'm not quite sure about that decision. But as you said, it didn't matter in the end, and Chelsea went on to record an impressive victory, obviously with the help of Ann-Katrin Berger in the goal.
Yeah, I would suggest no one celebrated those penalty saves more than Sophie.
Exactly, and
thanks, mate.
She was very disappointed. Obviously, it meant she missed the second leg as well. But again, Chelsea did the job, and you know, here she is in the quarter-final.
Here's Hoot. That's fine. Rolfo will come and close down on Carter. Kirby played even deeper against Villa. Frank Kirby. All-round game coming on year by year. It's a late challenge on Berger there.
Yes, Fran Kirby's a very intelligent player. Obviously, you'd like to see her higher up the pitch than back in and around her own penalty area, but she works so hard for the team. If she needs to be back there, she'll be back there doing the work. And yeah, just a slightly late challenge on Berger there, but she's okay. But Fran's obviously at her most dangerous up top alongside Sam Kerr, and hopefully we'll see more of her in the opposition half than we do in our own.
It's been really interesting to see her in a slightly, I hesitate to use the word selfish, but a slightly less selfish role, if you like. It speaks volumes for the vision, I suppose, of the coach and the ability to adapt of the player, in that, you know, it's been Bethany England and Frank Kirby banging in goals season after season, but in comes Sam Kerr, and Frank Kirby moves a little wider, a little deeper at times, and still scoring plenty and setting up even more. And Chelsea on the back foot here. The angle is tight. The challenge was perfectly timed. Good job Eriksson got there. Ingle helping out, and Bright, well, anywhere will do at that point.
Yeah, I don't know why she decided to cut that back there from the left-hand side. She looked like she could have gone on and had a strike at goal, but then credit to, I think it was it Eriksson that was back with her that put in a challenge and made it difficult. She put her under pressure and maybe changed her mind. But yeah, I was expecting Berger to be tested in the Chelsea goal there.
Not least because she seemed to have got clear. She looked like she had the beating.
Yeah, she definitely looked like she had a yard or two to at least get a shot off. So I was surprised to see her try and cut that back, but thankfully it allowed Chelsea to clear their lines a bit and get themselves out of danger. But going back to Fran Kirby, I think so early in her career there was always the expectation on her to be the goal scorer, whether that was at Reading as a youngster. She was always the one that scored the goals, and you know, there weren't too many others in the team that were doing that on a regular basis.
There's a ball on here, and it's been well played by Hoot. Rolfo cutting it back. There's been a reasonable amount of defending already from that 6-yard box line. Enough to make you just feel a bit twitchy.
Yeah, they've grown into the game a little bit in the last 10 minutes or so, Wolfsburg. But thus far haven't haven't caused too many issues other than that one off the line with the deflection.
They're getting to those bits first, aren't they? And you're not really seeing the likes of Cuthbert or Harder on the ball at all. Which would be not a huge worry yet, but it's a developing theme, shall we say, and it's another leg well stuck out, well timed by Captain Eriksson, but it needs to be at the moment. It's a bit like that as Ralph gets it forward. The cross is a deep one. Thankfully, a lot of their crosses have been too deep so far, but just a little bit, perhaps excess pressure being invited here. You wouldn't expect it to be easy to defend against Wolfsburg, but you know what I mean? You feel like you're just pushing it a bit.
Yeah, and you know, just they're trying to play their way out, which is great, and they've got the ability to do it, but they're just rushing, playing loose passes that Wolfsburg are picking up on, like you said, and then getting the balls into those wide areas. Thankfully, the delivery hasn't been spot on as yet. Well, almost. that was a very good ball.
It was.
And Chelsea have been able to clear their lines for the most part, but you can't keep inviting that type of pressure because eventually it will fall to someone, it'll drop, you know, even if it is a deflection. It just takes that one little moment where it lands at someone's feet in front of the goal and you're in trouble. But at the moment they're riding their luck and they're seeing it out. They just need to get a hold of the ball when they're in possession and try and get themselves up the pitch with more controlled sort of passing and getting that midfield trio into the game a little bit more.
Yeah, they really aren't at the moment. I mean, Ingles doing a defensive job, so that's less on the ball than you might have for the other two, but Harder needed on the ball. Leupolt's here. Well done, Sophie Ingle. Nice idea too with the pass. Well, a quarter of the game done. That'll do. 3 quarters more. Well, unless of course it goes the distance. Only one scoreline can give us that, of course. Flag up.
I think I've just heard Emma Hayes shouting there, we need to be better in possession, and that's exactly right. And you know, as much as Erin Cuthbert gives defensively, maybe at some point if it carries on in this fashion that you might get someone like G in there who we know is one of the best players in the world on the ball. She might be able to come in and just settle it down a little bit and get hold of it. But I mean, that's not to say Erin Cuthbert can't play, of course. She's a very good footballer as well. It just might be a slight change that Emma Hayes looks to make. But it's still early, and you know, at the minute it's not causing too many problems. If they can just have a spell like this where they keep possession, relax into it a bit more and get back to how they started the game, to be honest.
Kerr coming short. Solid challenge coming in from Sarah Dawson, one of many with a whole load of German caps in this Wolfsburg squad. Yeah, it's no slur on Erin Cuthbert. G is a more composed player on the ball. They're different kinds of players. Cuthbert's got more energy and more tenacity running around the field, and it depends what you feel you need as the coach, but it's a point worth making for sure. One trophy in the bag already. Holding off Man City at the top of the WSL, 2 clear with a handful to play. How about a treble? Harder's ball is a good one. Sam Kerr couldn't quite take it in her stride. Difficult control to keep that right at your toes.
Yeah, when you've got the pressure coming in from the Wolfsburg player and it's going across your body, it was a tough one. Really nice idea from Harder. When she first looked up, there weren't many options, but Kerr's made a good run inside and just couldn't get a hold of it. I think if she had a touch in front of her, she definitely had room to get a shot in on goal, but just rolled away from her.
Millie Bright just backing herself with the touch, but it's been caught. As Helen says, the crosses won't keep being substandard. They've had a lot of chances to put that ball in the Chelsea box. They're bound to get 1 or 2 right. How about that for a pass, though, from Harder to Kerr, who's onside here. Big call. Oh, she's given it.
Penalty. Took her time to decide that.
Didn't she just?
I mean, Sam Kerr looks, you know, she was convinced straight away, of course, any forward would be, but yeah, we'll have to see that one again. It looked close. Great ball, like you said. Fantastic vision from Harder, and she's shown good pace, good touch. Yeah, It's a close one, but did she just get a touch? I'm not sure. I don't know, but you know, Sam Kerr was convinced, and at the end of the day, it's the referee's decision that matters. And Harder's about to step up against their former team. This is a big moment.
Isn't it just? Away goal, please. Kedrzinek back in your box, please.
This is when
the touch itself may have, I mean, that was borderline in terms of inside and outside box. There might have been a toe on the ball. She definitely took out leg. It's just whether she got a stud on. Anyway, who cares? Chelsea got a penalty. Chance for an away goal. Pernilla Harder, 27 Champions League goals, 24 of them for Wolfsburg. One last week against Wolfsburg, and a huge moment against them again here. Been a lot of penalties for and against in this Champions League run. This is the biggest of the lot. Harder versus Kedrzinek. Get in! Bottom corner, away goal for Chelsea. Big advantage for Chelsea now. Wolfsburg have to score twice, and even that would only be good enough for extra time.
Oh, fantastic, really good composure. I'm not sure why I was nervous when you're looking at one of the best players in the world stepping up to take a penalty, but obviously Maren Mjelde is generally speaking Chelsea's penalty taker, and she's so good at it. But for her to step up, really, really composed, calm finish, sent the keeper the wrong way, and yeah, rolls it into the corner. Brilliant from Harder, and that's a big moment for Chelsea. Hopefully they can relax a little bit now, knowing that they've got that two-goal cushion, and they've got that all-important away goal. Any more goals from here for Chelsea, and it puts them massively in the driving seat.
It really does. This is the thing with away goals. It's such a fine margin. It's bonkers. That'll be handball, I think, against the goal scorer. Because you come into this game 2-1 up, Wolfsburg win 1-0, they go through. Now suddenly, even if they score 2, they don't go through. That's how ridiculously tight it is, the difference of one away goal or not.
Yeah, especially when you think they've both been playing away in both legs, yes. Being in Budapest. But yeah, no, it's a huge moment, and I think Chelsea realise that. You can see from the celebrations. They know it's still early in the game, but it does put that little bit of breathing space in, and hopefully now they can relax that little bit more on the ball, get it under. And Wolfsburg, of course, now they have to come out, they have to score goals, and that puts the pressure on them, and could open up the gaps for the likes of Kirby and Sam Kerr.
Well, so often the scorer, Sam Kerr, but she's made this one, and the ball from the back, I've already forgotten in the excitement who it was, but it was fantastic. Wolfsburg coming forward looking for an immediate response, and that's a brilliant ball, and a kick at the post, but no ball in the net. Eva Pajor should have done better. Yes, she was on the stretch, but that is a real let-off.
Yeah, I just don't know if she was expecting it. A player of her calibre and the amount of goals she scores, maybe just didn't expect it to come through, or just, she got there as well. It comes off her knee. I think she's got to score that.
She has got to score, and she did, and maybe this is Chelsea's day. Just timed the slide wrong, you're absolutely right. It wasn't beyond her.
And you can see she's so frustrated. She nearly went hell for leather on that post there, but she thought better of it before smacking it with her foot. But yeah, you know, I was thinking earlier, I didn't want to say it for the commentator's curse, but she's been quiet across the two legs. I know she's had injury problems, and maybe that's why, but she hasn't been the goal threat that I expected her to be, and that was her moment there, and hopefully she doesn't get them any more.
Yeah, in the goals again this season. She got 16 last season in the Bundesliga. Semi-final goal scorer against the Blues in 2018. What a chance to get them right back in the hunt here. That's an excellent touch from Blomqvist, and Hoot with the cross. Another easy grab for Berger.
Yeah, that's her bread and butter there. As soon as that was in the air, you could see that she was ready to come and take it.
You mentioned the celebrations there. I noticed Pernilla Harder allowed herself a little one, as she did last week. Didn't go absolutely overboard, but equally didn't do nothing, as many an X factor might.
Yeah, she knew what it meant though, I think, and in those moments you lose yourself for a split second, and I think she realised who she was playing against and sort of tamed it a bit. But you can't blame her for having a little fist pump, because
no, I'd be going berserk. I think it was absolutely fine.
I think it was her that played the ball forward actually to Sam Kerr, in answer to your question earlier.
What a pass, a perfectly timed run. Kerr, such a great ability to be a nuisance forward as well as a good finisher. Pressure from Chelsea's brought the turnover here. Kirby couldn't pass to Kerr, she just ran offside. Ingle keeps it moving. Here's Jess Carter. Well, the bottom line is Wolfsburg have got to score 2 unanswered goals in an hour. And anything more from Chelsea. Maybe now. Kerr's done it again! Made one, scored one, and Chelsea right in the driving seat. And if my maths are right, Wolfsburg need 4.
I don't even know, what is it, it's 4-1 now, right? So yeah, they need 4. 3 goals doesn't do enough. But yeah, I mean, look at that, what a take. Keeps it away, 3 defenders round her, and she still finds room to finish, and finish it brilliantly. You know, you have to say that for all, like I said at the start, for all the criticism she took for the missed chances at the start of the season, she's certainly repaying that now, and she is their go-to player for the goals, and she's taken them fantastically well.
20 goals this season in all competitions. What an impact the Aussies having. And Wolfsburg, I said at the top of the show, they're not used to losing. Certainly not used to being 2 down after half an hour. It's 2 down after an hour last week. As Berger jumps on another cross. They've got to score 4 times in an hour to go through. 4.5 minutes between the goals. Wham bam, thank you ma'am.
And I think, you know, it sounds silly as they were under so much pressure for a period, Chelsea, now that it just, there's something, they've been lifted, and you can see them going on to score a couple more if they carry on in this fashion. Wolfsburg look a little bit drained, a little bit devoid of confidence, and, you know, from being right in the game to suddenly within 4.5 minutes, seemingly being out of the tie before half-time, it's going to be a hard one for them to recover from.
First and foremost, we need discipline from Chelsea here. No red cards, no silly defensive errors, no chances taken. I know they want to play out from the back, but just don't give them the help that would let them have a glimmer, because at the moment they barely have that glimmer. Good as they are, 4 goals in less than an hour is a big ask, even for the very best, and they are certainly amongst the very best.
It is, but any glimmer, like you said, of hope, especially before half-time, if they nick a goal, you know, in the next sort of 10-12 minutes, then suddenly you get a little bit twitchy, start making decisions that you wouldn't necessarily make. So it's important, like you said, they need to keep their discipline. Winning fouls like that, you know, that's the type of things that Chelsea need right now, just to get themselves into half-time in this position, and they'll know that it's firmly in their hands. But going back to the goal and the build-up, Fran Kirby, you mentioned, looked to play to Sam Kerr, saw she was offside and just recycled the ball, and I think that's an underrated skill. When you're in that position in the opposition half, it's so instinctive to look to go and try and create, try and thread balls, but she saw it wasn't on, laid it out nice and simple to Sophie Ingle, her and Jess Carter combined, and then suddenly the ball was on, Sam Kerr does her bit, and you have to give credit for that patient build-up play. And again, you heard Emma Hayes saying, well done, Fran, just for playing the simple pass that most people wouldn't really notice, but Emma Hayes realises that what a good decision that was, and ultimately it's ended in a massive goal.
Really was proper centre-forward hold-up play that. Control it perfectly, pivot, shoot, bottom corner. Hidrozinek hasn't really made a save in this game. She hasn't had a chance with the 2 that have gone past her. Wow. Better than we might have hoped for, I think it's fair to say. We kind of expected 2-0 up after half an hour. Jess Carter. Into Kerr again. She was offside. When you're not used to losing games, though, I mean, Wolfsburg's heads must be kind of sort of scrambled egg at the moment, that sort of almost panicky feeling, because it's not an experience they have on any kind of basis.
That was close, that offside. But yeah, no, you're right. It's winning is a habit, and when somebody stops that habit, it's difficult to deal with. And I think I heard their manager said after the first leg that that's actually one of their best performances this season, and yet they found themselves 2-1 down. Again, they were in a spell of the game where they were playing quite well, they were creating opportunities, they were getting the ball in from wide areas and making Chelsea nervous. So to suddenly find yourself 4-1 down on aggregate, almost through no fault of your own, in a funny sort of way, where you feel you're playing well and you're in the game, to suddenly be in a position where it's going to be a very difficult task is hard to take, because you think, well, if we can't get the goals and we can't score when we are playing well, how are we gonna punish them, you know, when they've got so much confidence now? So yeah, it's be interesting to be in that dressing room at half-time to see how they deal with it.
I'd expect them to be pressing hard and to maybe have to change their game plan here, because obviously start the game, a goal takes you through. So you can play your entirely normal game and back your own ability and your various qualities you have, which are many. But they've got to do something different here, and they've got to take risks and commit players forward, and it might mean that they concede a third. There is a long time to go. But you can't get 4 if you can't get the first. Pretty sure of that. Well read. Jess Carter really well read. Here's Kirby. Gives it back to her. Harder's in the middle. Lou Poltz is in the middle. Chelsea have a corner.
Yeah, that was nice. She's grown in confidence, I think, Jess Carter down that right-hand side. Thankfully, her ankle looks to be holding up, and, you know, she's linked up nicely there with Fran Kirby, and just couldn't quite get enough on the ball to wrap it between the, you know, in that sort of second 6-yard box, as you call it, in between the defence and the goalkeeper. But yeah, won their side a corner. I think Wolfsburg will be conscious of the fact that conceding another before half-time completely ends the game, but also knowing that scoring their own goal puts it back on tenterhooks. So it's a tough balance. It's a tough one for the manager to deal with, and the players to know when to go all out and press and leave those gaps potentially in behind.
Cuthbert's corner in towards Magda Eriksson. Janssen did enough. I'd like to have another few looks at that penalty. I dare say Coach Stefan Lerch will be bringing that up, because obviously that is a seriously key moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed the game, hasn't it? And I think it's one of those that if you're Chelsea, you're delighted and you think, yeah, Stonewall penalty. And if you're Wolfsburg, you've kind of got grounds for complaint, and at least grounds for considering that it could have been outside the box, let alone whether it was a foul in the first place. So yeah, I can see why it's been given, but the length of time she took to blow her whistle, I didn't think it was going to be.
Erin Cuthbert just being micromanaged by Emma Hayes there. She was going to go and press a minute ago when the ball was with the keeper at the other end, and Emma saying to her, leave it as a 4-4-2, come and fill in here. Exactly where the ball came a moment later. She knows what she's doing, Emma Hayes. It's Kirby.
Yeah, she's not bad, is she?
There's only one shiny pot she's not got her hands on. It's part of the Arsenal staff when they won it. But we don't count that. Kerr, again, excellent hold-up forward play. Fran Kirby will chase. Rolfo will beat her to it. Right, Wolfsburg, what have you got? You've got 6 minutes and then a half-time interval to work out how to come out of this shell-shocked state and turn this back into a contest, because weird as it sounds, Chelsea at the moment are cruising into the last 4.
It's exactly where Chelsea would want to be coming up to half-time. I don't think they could have planned it any better, to be honest. No doubt about that. I bet if you offered Emma 0-0 at half-time, she'd have said, yeah, fine. Yeah,
I'll take that
right.
And I'll back us to get through it.
Yeah.
Never mind 2-0. Beyond the wildest dreams, here's Harder. Oh, lovely idea. Tough ball to pull off. Erin Cuthbert made the run. Cover from Lou Poltz.
Yeah, Harder's just so graceful on the ball. You give her, she looks like she's giving you an inch to come in and take it off her, but she's just so elegant and drifts past players like they're not there. Just couldn't quite find the ball, but the vision was there, and the run was there. Just couldn't quite slide it through. But you know, despite the scoreline, they're up against a very good Wolfsburg team that aren't going to let those go through too easily.
Hoot. Sliced under pressure.
Stay in that space.
It feels becalmed, the game. There was that sort of fraught, tense nature to it in the opening 20. Doesn't feel like that now. Long may it stay. Well done, Jess Carter.
She did really well there, because she was looking to play it down the line, saw there was no one there and she needed to go alone, and just did enough, got her body in the way, invited the foul. Maybe a bit theatric in her fall, but you know, I think it was a foul. She did catch her, and again it gives Chelsea a little bit of a chance just to settle it down again and, you know, eat up the time towards that magic half-time whistle.
Every foul, every free kick. By modern standards, I don't think that was that theatrical, actually. I've seen a lot worse than that. Cuthbert couldn't quite keep it. Hoot pokes it forward, and there, as usual, that underrated protection role that we see every week at the bridge with N'Golo Kante, Sophie Ingle doing it there. The sort of thing that doesn't grab headlines ever, but is absolutely essential to any good team. Just spotting that danger almost before it happens. There's danger again now, though, and Millie Bright got a big touch on it. Oh, 3 minutes to half-time. Harder controlled that. Kirby would have been off and running.
Yeah, Sophie Ingle, I've had the pleasure of being, I think she's 28 now, and the last 12 years I've seen her develop into, I think, a world-class player. I think, like you said, it's a very underrated role, and I was going to say she doesn't score a lot of goals, but the goals she does score are phenomenal, left foot and right foot, and it's nice to see that she is getting a bit of the credit she deserves, because she's integral to this side and how they play.
It's another miss-hit cross. That has been the tale for Wolfsburg in many a promising position during this first 45 minutes. But they put one low one in that Eva Payor should have finished. The rest, not good enough, frankly.
Yeah, and I think that's the theme that's carrying on from the first leg. When the delivery was good, the finishing didn't match it. And when there were players waiting for a better delivery, the delivery didn't come. So they just haven't been able to marry it up over the 2 legs so far.
Good.
Yeah, which is great for Chelsea. But, you know, I'm a little bit more relaxed about it now, and, you know, when it keeps happening, you think, well, maybe it is the best route to let them have it in wide areas and hope that it carries on the way it goes. I think the one that they did make good connection with, and it did go in the back of the net last week, was the one that was a handball, and it was a handball. It was a correct decision, intentional or not. It did come off her arm. But other than that, yeah, the finishing and the crossing just hasn't matched.
Forward by Kerr, the flag will go up on Frank Kirby here.
She wasn't actually offside there.
You're right.
It looked clear cut in the first one, but that actually showed she was onside, and actually very unfortunate for that to be given.
That's what happens when you get 2 trains moving in opposite directions. It can suddenly look, even 1 second later, like she's miles off. You're right.
VAR, anyone?
Thankfully, no. But one day, probably.
Well, they had it in the Women's World Cup, didn't they? And it didn't particularly go to plan,
no,
as far as I could see. Unsure if it's going to be in the Euros next summer. I'd imagine it will be, but I couldn't say for definite. I'm not sure if I really want to still be playing when that comes around full time.
No, we need a vaccine against that. Added time at the end of a first half that Wolfsburg will not believe, and maybe Chelsea won't either. Not because it's so unthinkable that Chelsea could be leading 2-0, but it is better than we dared hope, for sure. And there's only 1 added minute. Flag is up again on Sam Kerr this time.
I don't think they'll mind that. Slows the game down again. Sam Kerr was never getting on the end of the ball, so The referee's whistle just eats into that time. That one was offside.
Well, things that Emma Hayes will not be saying shortly. Don't worry, you can concede 3. But that is a fact, ridiculous as it may sound. It's a waste of a throw, but it'll be the end of a half that has gone better than we dared dream. Pernilla Harder from the penalty spot. Referee in the spotlight. Sam Kerr was fouled for that, and then Sam Kerr span 4 minutes later and fired one into the bottom corner. Stefan Lurk is the coach with the problems. Chelsea are the team with a semi-final place firmly in grasp. Wolfsburg need to be absolutely perfect after the break, and even that may not be enough. The half-time scoreline has Chelsea 2 goals to the good, 4-1 overall. And Wolfsburg need 4 unanswered goals in the second half. Incredible. Now, while Emma Hayes has a chat with her players, it gives us a chance to show you some of the unseen extra content, the kind of thing you can see on the 5th Stand app from the recent WSL game against Villa. Like Chelsea's worst enemy here would be themselves, and I don't expect that to be the case, but surely they see this through.
Yeah, I think Emma Hayes would have made sure that feet were firmly kept on the ground in the dressing room at half-time, and I think the players will know exactly what's expected of them going into this second 45. They keep doing what they're doing, and they're in the semi-finals, but if they give Wolfsburg an inch, it can all of a sudden become a bit more difficult. So I think get through the first 10 minutes unscathed, and they'll grow into it. You know, maybe be able to make a couple of changes, bring Bethany England back into the fold. And if they do get another goal, then it gives an opportunity to rest players, which is important, you know, with a hectic schedule, players going off onto international duty in the next week or so as well. You know, it could be a time to believe. I never thought I'd say it, that you'd be able to rest players in the Champions League.
You thought you'd never say today. Yeah, get some players off.
But they need to make sure that they do the basics first and get themselves in a position where that's a possibility. So it's an important opening 10 or 15 minutes, I think.
I wouldn't be remotely surprised if Wolfsburg did produce a responsive champions, but it's just they need a lot. And they can't be hitting, you know, the nearest player or over-hitting crosses, and they can't be missing from 4 or 5 yards out. They can't be hitting posts. They can't be having Berger save them. That looks painful for Leupolz.
Yeah, it's one of those, she's gone to kick it with everything she's got, and I think has ended up following through and hurting herself there. I don't think it was a foul. I think it's one of those where, yeah, the player hasn't gone for her there. She's kicked her foot, but it is a sore one. It is one that will take a minute or two to shake off.
Well, she won't be thinking about it yet, but 6 years at Bayern, Melanie Leupolz, before coming to Chelsea last summer. So that'll be a reunion. Hopefully she can have the same effect Pernilla Harder has had on Wolfsburg over the course of the 2 legs, if the Blues do indeed get there. She played in both of those legs against Chelsea as a Bayern player. Tara was talking about where Frank Kirby scored that great away goal.
Well, she's been an excellent addition. I didn't know too much about her, if I'm honest, before she came to Chelsea, but she's settled in well, and at one stage it looked like an either-or between her and Sophie Ingle. You know, one of them would play and the other would have a rest or spend some time on the bench, but in the last 2-3 months it's become a partnership that's been really important to how Chelsea play, and allows that front four players to go and attack, even 5 if you include G in that when she's on the pitch. You've got a sort of a defensive 5 and a more attacking 5 that it's not a bad options to have, because especially as I say defensive 5, when you look at the players, they also chip in with goals, Sophie and Leupolz. So it's a really good balance to the team.
Yeah, Sophie Ingle's up quality rather than quantity. When they arrive, they are rippers. 2 or 3 a season.
And with her left foot as well, honestly, it's scary what she can do with her left foot. I couldn't even dream of doing it with my right.
If you haven't seen the one in the incredible cup tie against Man City, look it up, folks.
Or the volley against Arsenal in the WSL, that wasn't bad either.
Here's Rolfo. Wolfsburg will have to come to the kind of party they don't normally come to, the comeback party. Berger gratefully grabs it, and every one of those catches and every moment that passes, every attack that doesn't work out, takes Chelsea closer. It's a great point Helen made in the first half. It's not just about necessarily going all the way and winning this. The next step is beating Wolfsburg or a team like them, but specifically them. That will feel like some progress. Of course, any elimination would feel like a disappointment, but if you can knock them out, why not win the whole thing? Came so close to beating the perma winners Lyon in the semi-final not so long ago. Take on all comers. Hoop with the shot, blocked, she's got it back. 4 green shirts in the box, but again, straight at Anne-Catherine Berger.
Yeah, if you're going to put crosses in the air, you need to put it away from her because she's so dominant in that 6-yard box. Her presence alone seems to put strikers off from going for the ball, and it allows her to claim the ball fairly easily. And Wolfsburg need to do better if they're going to cause problems.
They've closed down well there, but they've given it back.
I think going back to your point about, you know, this being a massive hurdle to potentially get over today, I think if they can do it with a clean sheet, you know, and if it stays like this, a resounding victory really over the 2 legs, that's another thing that it's not that they're scraping through, hopefully, against a team of this quality, and that can only help the mindset of the team going forward as well.
And raise the eyebrows of potential opponents further down the line if they see, God, Chelsea have beaten Wolfsburg in both legs. If it ends up that way, it's a big word if, considering it's only got 2 letters in it, but you know what I mean. You know, people, Lyon, Bayern, they will say, okay, well, we knew they were good, but maybe they're even better than we thought they were, and that's always helpful. Rolfo's cross, charged down. Chelsea working hard to try and close down those avenues, and there's always the promise of a counter. No flag here, Pernilla Harder. Play the ball. And for once, from that graceful foot of hers, it's not an accurate pass.
Yeah, she's disappointed in herself there, and, you know, you can't blame her because that wasn't really a difficult pass for a player of her standards. And Sam Kerr was there, she was free, she was ready to take it in her stride and face the goalkeeper one-on-one, but just couldn't get enough on it. Well, got too much on it, I should say, not enough bend back towards Sam Kerr's feet, but that's the sort of opportunities Chelsea will be crying out for as Wolfsburg look to attack more, getting in those spaces in behind.
Push from Pop on Engel. Scored in the defeat in the final last August at Alexandra Pop. She scored in the 2016 final defeat as well. She scored nearly 150 times over 9 years at Wolfsburg. And she is one who really does not know the losing feeling. Harder going through with Držinek, who, to be fair, has had actually very little to do in the game, oddly enough, for someone who's conceded twice. Out she comes.
I remember playing against Pop in what was the UEFA Women's Cup when I was at Arsenal, and she must have only been 18 or 19 at the time, and she was as solid a unit as she is now back then. And you could tell that she was a player, and she was going to go on to have. She was playing for Duisburg at the time, I think as a left back, believe it or not. So to have seen her career go from strength to strength over the past sort of 10, 12 years is, you know, she's club and country, she's been fantastic, and I can tell, you know, when you get glimpses of her face, she's so disappointed in how this has gone. She expects better of herself and her team, and, you know, you don't get too many opportunities to get to Champions League semi-finals and finals. and if you do, you've got to try and take them, and they haven't been able to do that just yet. And you know, it's something that she's not going to want to slip by. But she's at a stage of her career now where it's not going to come round too often.
Chelsea have had their list of disappointments, but you know, Wolfsburg haven't won it since 2014. They won it at the Bridge in 2013. They retained it the year after, but 3 finals since and lost all of them, all to Lyon, who, if you've missed the news, one up on PSG. The second leg coming. Erin Cuthbert with a delayed reaction there. Chelsea ball. So that quarter-final, well, we don't know when that's going to happen. Whoever wins out the 2 big hitters in France, who are just a point apart in their own title race, they'll play probably Barcelona, unless Man City pull off an incredible second leg later today. So Lyon or PSG against probably Barcelona, and probably Bayern against probably Chelsea.
Do you know what is quite frightening about this Chelsea squad? I don't know what the average age is, but I feel like it's fairly young in terms of age, but they've got a lot of experience and they've still got a lot of growing to do. They're not, I don't think there's many that are over 30. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's many, which is a frightening thought for the rest of Europe and certainly the WSL, that they'll all sort of come into their prime at the same time if they're not already in it, which is, you know, is daunting for anyone coming up against them in the next few years.
Elite players at their peak, lots of them. The point Helen made in the first half, with a salient one, that you've just got this unit. I mean, the whole squad, you know Emma trusts the whole squad, but just a little tweak. Every now and then one of Kerr or Kirby might just have a little breather, and England will come in, and in midfield maybe Fleming gets the odd start, and maybe Cuthbert does, but it's just the odd one in and out every now and then. It's just a perfect juggle job, as we see a card, I believe, the first of the game. Fran Kirby, caution for that.
Yeah, I can see why she's committed the foul there. She's got the wrong side of her, but you don't want to give away soft yellow cards. You know, the foul's one thing, but you know, she's going to have to be careful now. There's no way she's going to want to face a second yellow card and get herself a suspension for the semi-final if, fingers crossed, Chelsea get there. So that's just one maybe for Emma Hayes to think about in a 10-15 minutes time.
Well, goodness only knows how you make any kind of decision in that crowd. There's another cross coming in here, and down again. This time Hendrick going down. They're looking for everything they can get. I'm not suggesting there wasn't a foul in there. I mean, it was impossible really to even see if anything had happened, but the important thing is that nothing was given, and it's another delivery into the Chelsea box that yields nothing for the wounded Wolves.
I didn't see the first one, like you said. The second one looked a bit, it didn't look too much, to be honest. I think it was Jess Carter at the back post, just sort of edging her player out of the picture. But yeah, I couldn't tell you about the first one. Too many bodies.
Jess Carter has played 3 times in this competition in each of the last 2 seasons. But she'll be absolutely thrilled to be getting a start in such a big game.
She's done very well, I have to say. I think she's been, I mean, she hasn't been overly tested defensively, I don't think, but what she's been asked to do, she's done pretty well. And she's got up and been a support in the attacking half as well. So, yeah, she's certainly not done anything wrong, and big shoes to fill, I should say, when you think of Maren Mjelde and how much she means to this team in that role at right back. For her and for Jess Carter and Niamh Charles to come in and do so well across the 2 legs is testament to their character and their versatility as well.
No foul apparently, but they kept possession anyway. Rolfo here, after Hoop went to ground. Rolfo keeps it in. Carter puts it out, right on cue, and as we approach the hour mark, Wolfsburg have a corner, but they do not yet have a goal, and a reminder, even 3 wouldn't be enough for them. It would be enough to make us extremely nervous, but it wouldn't be enough to take them through.
Yeah, again, Jess Carter sensing the danger there and taking Millie Bright's place, who had gone out onto the right-hand side.
That ball wasn't touching any part of the quadrant. That's a header that will drift aimlessly wide. I'm just waiting for a big goal to be scored somewhere in a big game where VAR then says ball wasn't in the touching the line of the corner quadrant. Incidentally, this year's Champions League final, like last season's, apparently will have VAR. We were talking about that in the first half.
I've never really understood why an inch outside the quadrant would give you any sort of advantage, to be honest.
It's so negligible. I guess in theory you could say the ball would get into the box, you know, 1 nanosecond quicker than it would do if it, I mean, but really, not to the point where surely that gives you.
It's really,
so why risk it?
I don't know.
And someone one day will go, no, sorry, it wasn't in. The goal doesn't stand, and someone will shout at a referee and they'll be right.
They just want to get away with it and know that they've done something they shouldn't. It's really bizarre. Like, yeah, I've put it outside the quadrant, and what are you going to do about it, kind of thing. It's one of those I've never understood in any level of football.
It's one of many irritating things that have crept in over recent years. Janice van der Sanden is the first change from Stefan Lerck's bench. She is on, and they have half an hour now to score those 4 unanswered goals. The minutes keep on ticking. I keep looking at the clock.
I think it's been fairly comfortable for Chelsea in the opening 15 minutes of this half. Wolfsburg haven't come out as aggressively as I'd expect them to, you know, seeing as they're a team that needs 4 goals. I'd have expected maybe 1 or 2 changes. And just, I don't know, just a bit more about them, a bit more speed, a bit more pace, and more will to get forward and put Chelsea under pressure.
Which they're doing here. The Pop left the ball behind, thankfully. Very kind of her. Rolfo went off, by the way, for van der Sanden coming on. No, I'm totally with you. They're lacking oomph. Oh, Kirby was caught there, and blatantly so by Rauch.
That's exactly what Chelsea need. Just breaking up the game. They're not under too much pressure defensively, but if they can just get themselves forward. Wolfsburg are just about starting to leave some gaps. We saw with Harder's attempted pass to Kerr. And that'll be where the game could be potentially sealed for Chelsea, is getting into those areas without having to do too much extra running, than, you know, just waiting for those gaps to open.
Erin Cuthbert with the ball in, and it's a good one. Well, Eriksson got a piece of it, and it flew through to Millie Bright. Nothing doing there with that. Was that a flag or a push?
I think it was just offside off the flick, just here, yeah. It was a better ball from Cuthbert than we saw in the first half. It was a good delivery. Difficult one to score from the initial header, and obviously Millie Bright's just drifted offside at the back post.
Guro Wrighton incoming for the Blues. Sam Kerr has, as usual, put in a wonderful forward shift and won the penalty, scored the second. What a success story the signing has been, Helen.
She has, and I'm really enjoying watching her play at the moment. As a forward myself, there's a lot you can learn from a player like that, and just her all-round game has impressed me more than anything. And I hadn't seen a massive amount of her before she came over to Chelsea. I'd seen glimpses of her, obviously, for Australia in the World Cup and things like that. And as I said, I was one of the most critical of her finishing at the start of the season. But having watched her closely in recent weeks and recent months, her all-round game has really impressed me.
Here's Rauch. Brilliantly timed challenge. Well, this hour so far, and let's hope it stays this way, well, I've done Jess Carter absolute world of good, because she's played so little football for one reason and another.
Yeah, she's been excellent. I mean, she got her opportunity, I think, for the whole second half in the Continental Cup final a few weeks back, and she obviously played the game at the weekend, which would have brought her match fitness up, and you know, I'm sure that many players would say that it's not too difficult to come and slot into this Chelsea team and play, but at the same time she's got a very good big job to do in that back four, and she's done it very well.
Yeah, I guess domestically those people who say that would be right, but it is a difficult job to come in and play right back against Wolfsburg, and she has limited the attacks there. Rolfo's gone off. That's who started in that position. Wolfsburg still attacking here. Magda Eriksson well placed, and just calm and just get rid, and she did.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And you know, the other side of it, you could say that she plays against and with these players every day in training, and that's, I mean, what better way to come into a game against such a high-class opposition than being up against the likes of Fran Kirby, Sam Kerr, Erin Cuthbert, Guru Wrighton in training. It's the best way to prepare for a game like this. And as I said, you know, she's been fantastic, and absolutely give credit to her and to Emma Hayes for putting the faith in her.
Well, who's on the end of that card? Is it? I'm not sure it was him. I thought it might have been one of his members of staff.
Yeah, it looked like she went past him to show the yellow card, so I don't know if someone on the bench has had a bit too much to say.
A bit late in the day for moaning at the ref now.
Yeah, next one.
I am amazed, like you, that this has not been the performance in the second half of a side that are as down in the tyres they are. Maybe they're just that down mentally, they haven't been able to lift it, but you know what I mean, they're almost playing like the scoreline's okay for them and they're not wanting to take a risk, as opposed to we have to score loads of goals really soon.
Yeah, it's almost like they're resigned to defeat, and they're just sort of playing the game out and just, you know, going along with it, trying not to concede any more goals. But you know, if we score, great. If we don't, we don't. It's a very strange looking mentality. Of course, we don't know that a lot of that could be down to the way Chelsea are playing, and they're stopping them from coming out and attacking, which is surely part of it. But yeah, I did expect a massive surge of energy in the first 10-15 minutes, and it didn't arrive. And you know, if any team looks to score, it looks like it's going to be Chelsea at the moment.
Carter's throat. Lupoltz quickly onto it, but then fouling hoot. Not sure the newly arrived Shanice van der Sanden's had a touch yet. 3 times a Champions League winner with Lyon. She and Pop both won it 3 times. And now in her first Wolfsburg season. Oh, the throw's coming her way now. And that ball was worked out for Blomqvist. I'm not sure she was the intended recipient. Certainly wasn't the intended finish either, over the top like that.
I don't think it was. I mean, on her day, Shanice van der Sanden can tear any fullback apart. She's got frightening pace. Sometimes criticised for a lack of a final product, but she really improved on that when she went to Lyon and had a good World Cup and European Championships with the Netherlands. Of course, winning the Euros in 2017, she was a big part of that. But just seems to have lost her way in the last year or so. Didn't get too many minutes at Lyon, has come to Wolfsburg to try and sort of lift her career again, but again seems to be, she was obviously on the bench last week and again today. So it's just something maybe missing in her confidence at the moment, but on her day she could be a real threat.
Engen pops it forward to Hendrick, and here she is again, van der Sanden. Jonna Andersson over there as cover. Guro Wrighton with her. Extra fresh legs to help keep the gap as wide as it is, improbably so. Ingle back to Berger. Guro Wrighton played a bit of Champions League for Lillestrøm before becoming a Blue a couple of years ago.
She's a good player, Guro Wrighton. I really rate her.
See Kirby's frustration there at not getting the ball played in. She was in tons of space. Eriksson and Bright just got in each other's way there before Pop was fouled. This is well within range.
Yeah, that's a little touch on her. I think the screen probably did it for the referee rather than the challenge itself.
Which shouldn't be how it is.
No.
Why is that? Referees will help themselves so much more if they give fouls when people don't scream and when they don't go down. Just thinking about that with that Wales game last night.
I didn't actually watch it.
The Patrick Schick red card and...
Ah, yes, I have seen that.
Big, strong Welshman. Conor Roberts not covering himself in too much glory with that. Right, Janssen, he finished off from 12 yards in game 1. This is a nice place to hit a free kick from. And it's pretty comfortable for Ann-Katrin Berger. A little pat on the back and a grateful second spent on the turf there. Yep, that's another one ticked off.
Yeah, it was nice and comfortable. We'd be disappointed if that free kick had found its way into the back of the net. But yeah, another few seconds wasted, and you know, that little bit closer to the 90-minute mark, 20 minutes or so to go, and Chelsea are in a really comfortable position right now.
It's the 21st edition of this competition. It's had different names in the past, but, well, Arsenal are the ones who've tasted glory from an English perspective. The Germans have done nearly half of them, haven't they? Turbine Potsdam and Frankfurt in their former guise. 9 German winners overall, which is the most, a couple more than France. And when I say a couple more than France, I really mean a couple more than Lyon. But England catching up for sure. Doesn't look like, well, we'll see if Manchester City can make the comeback happen. Chelsea leading the way, getting to latter stages on a regular basis. Not involved last year because of the previous season's WSL finish. But, you know, last 16, semi-finals. Looks like for the 3rd time coming up now. Getting closer by the year. It's Pernilla Harder. Just showed enough of that to Engen, who was in that filling in role, a bit like Sophie Ingles playing, just getting the challenge in. Not seen much of Payot, have we? And I think back that chance, was it about a minute after the penalty?
Yeah, it was very,
that goes
very
in,
soon
it's 1-1. Sliding doors moment maybe in the time. I mean, I'd like to think Chelsea would be good enough to see it out anyway, and they may well have been, but that was a big moment, that, isn't it? It
was. And I think the fact that then Chelsea went and scored probably 2 or 3 minutes after that again, it's a period of the game that's really cost them across the two legs.
Yes, it is. It's just tiny margins, even though the margin at the moment looks big at 4-1. You know, there's some great saves from Berger in that first leg. Posts and, you know, a 50-50 penalty call at best here today. As well as quality, you often need a little bit of fortune, I suppose you would say, trying to be impartial about it, that Chelsea have had the rub of the green over the course of the 2 legs in that regard to come out 2-1 winners in the first leg.
Yeah, I think, and that's a combination of, you know, poor finishing from Wolfsburg and 1 or 2 refereeing decisions that have gone their way. So, but like you said, I think to win any sort of championship or cup competition, you have to have that bit of luck. No team, or teams very rarely go through it unscathed and, you know, can claim that it's all down to their own hard work. Of course, the majority of it is, but you do have those moments, those sliding doors moments, as you said, that change the complexion of a tie in a competition. And, you know, Chelsea have had 1 or 2 of those across the 2 games. But in saying that, I think their performance has deserved it as well. So you can't take any credit away from Chelsea. They've put themselves in a position where those moments were key, and then they can capitalise on it.
Absolutely. Staying cool for now. She will be absolutely thrilled when this job is completed. Deservedly so. especially if they can do it with a clean sheet. Wolfsburg with it. Another attack here and another cross that the Blues have dealt with neatly enough. Blomqvist trying to flip it around the corner for Ralph, who was arriving, and there is Aaron Cuthbert storming in. No, you don't. Shut door in face. More changes coming. I'm sure many of you will remember Janet Jakabvi scoring a hat-trick at Stamford Bridge once upon a time. She does it again here. The cat will be amongst the pigeons, that's for sure. She hasn't got very long to do it then. Another door closes as Leupolz gets the block in.
Nice idea from Kirby there. Just couldn't get quite enough direction on it to guide it into Harder's path.
Brilliant, brilliant, Millie Bright.
Great strength.
That's just fantastic.
I think you could have had 3 players hanging off her there and she still would have held them off. That was great strength.
I'm rather disappointed the whistle went. I'd like to have seen her drag them all into the penalty box. Right, changes coming. Blomqvist off. There is Jakabvi and also Sofia Svava. New signing from Rosengard. Chelsea could yet play if they have their own miracle.
I think we'll start to see 1 or 2 changes from both sides now. Be good to see Beth England if she is ready and able to come on. Maybe get some minutes. That would be good for her and for the team moving forward. Don't suppose Emma Hayes wants to change too much too soon, but you know, looking at the last 15 minutes or so, you'd think that 1 or 2 changes just to rest up those legs like we mentioned.
Van der Sanden with the cross. It's been such a familiar theme. 15 minutes to play, and from kick-off, Wolfsburg have either created opportunities to get the ball in from wide, or indeed Chelsea just staying resolute through the middle and saying, OK, you have it out wide, and what have you got from the cross? Well, the answer is they haven't had enough.
No, they haven't. And the only surprising thing on that one was that Berger didn't catch it cleanly. Probably the only blot on her copybook across these 2 games. But it was comfortable in the end. There was no threat in front of her. And another moment wasted for Wolfsburg.
It's another big tick in the box, this. It really is. Chelsea setbacks are rare. We all gasped when that Brighton defeat happened at home from in front. But this is the 10th match since then. Everything's been a win except for that annoying stoppage time goal by Atletico that didn't stop Chelsea's progress, but that was a draw. Every other game has been a win since. What a response it's been across the competitions. Well, that's a way to control the ball. Melanie Leupolz via the foot and I think the nose.
I think that's a sign of a good team, is not the fact that they have only lost the 1 game, but it's how they responded after that. And in recent years, whenever they have had a defeat or dropped points, they've tended to respond really well, and that's a sign of a good side. You know, this Wolfsburg team, again, they're not used to losing games. They've lost 1 last week and they haven't had the response that they would have wanted today. So I'm not saying, of course, that Wolfsburg aren't a good team, but it just shows that the response that Chelsea have is quite important.
And it definitely was off the mush. Look at that. And Melanie Leupolz is going to come off. That may have happened anyway, but a bit of claret there for the German. As we see Cuthbert come off too, and we're going to see G and Jessie Fleming come into midfield.
What a luxury that is to bring a player of G's class on in when you're comfortable in a Champions League quarter-final.
Yeah, just to help see you through to the end.
Not bad, is it? Arguably one of the best foreign signings in the WSL, I'd say.
For such a long time too, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Not sort of popping in and out like I don't know, some big names have come in, haven't they? Obviously, loads of them at different stages into the English women's game. Even at Chelsea, you know, thinking Backman came over a bit, or Crystal Dunn from there, I don't know, off the top of my head, but
what, 7, 8 years,
7 years now, yeah.
And she's been consistently brilliant. Yeah, fantastic player.
At the other end of the experience scale, the Canadian Jessie Fleming. Games when she has had the chance to come in and start, she did at the weekend. She did against Aston Villa in the reverse fixture as well, and she was very good in that game. I mean, it's tough to get in, as you mentioned, to this Chelsea midfield. The fact that G's on the bench for a game like this is proof of that.
Yeah.
Jessie Fleming more than good enough.
Yeah, really bright young talent. Like you said, whenever she's had that opportunity, she's done very well. But that's the luxury Emma Hayes has. She's got the time and the squad to be able to breed her in gently and, you know, not thrust her into the limelight too soon, put her under too much pressure. She can come into games like this and express herself without the sort of pressure of, you know, the scoreline being tight, and, you know, she can then dip in and out of the starting lineup to get that experience.
It was a slightly more testing cross. Berger had to come with a punch there. Dropped to route, but not really in shooting potential as Ingle pops it back, and away it goes. Hard to keep it in. No, not quite. And genuinely nosebleed territory here for Melanie Leupolz, and I think you're going to see how. Just here, it really was.
Oh, that makes your eyes water.
At least it's not a cold day as well. Be even worse. Oh, beautiful touch. Harder. Kirby's trying to pull away to give her a bit of space, and she's got it. Just. G. The ball's on. Kirby. Go on. Oh, brilliant. 10 minutes to go, and Chelsea aren't just knocking out Wolfsburg, they're smashing them. 5-1 the aggregate score, and no one deserves a goal more in this tie than Fran Kirby.
Yeah, she hasn't had the glory of scoring the goals up to this point, but she's been integral to the way they've played and the, you know, setting up that initial goal for Sam Kerr in the first leg, and she's been a thorn in the side of Wolfsburg across the 2 games. And, you know, when she gets into that position, there's never any doubt that she's going to finish it. Good first touch and through the legs of the goalkeeper. G coming on, she could have gone either way. I think Harder was the other side as well. Thought she might have reversed it to her, but no, she's seen Fran Kirby, and great finish, well deserved.
Right at the beginning of that, a tiny little toe touch from Harder that just did the defender in the build-up.
It did.
Brilliant.
That's what makes her such a world-class player. Those little deft touches that they look nothing, but actually not many players can pull them off. The timing of it, the pace of which you touch the ball with. There's not many players in the world that would have done that. And yeah, it set them on their way. And you could see, I know that's made it 3-0. It's 5-1. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a massively important goal, but for Fran Kirby, she was delighted with that, and her teammates were delighted with it too. And like you said, it puts a massive amount of gloss on the scoreline, which goes a long way. It makes everybody sit up and take notice. You look at 5-1 against such a team as Wolfsburg. It's no mean feat.
A couple of people I spoke to earlier this week said they still expected Wolfsburg to go through. That's what it was. It was a pretty tough one to call, I think, at kick-off. You could easily have made a case either way. Katrin Berger comes out, and Jakampi doing the closing down. That could have ricocheted anywhere. She's closing down Millie Bright as well. Chelsea ball. Well, Fran Kirby's got 15 Champions League goals now.
It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad at all. Way behind Pernilla Harder.
I've just heard Emma Hayes say something down there, something about waiting a number of years for this moment, and I don't know if she's talking about the moment of beating Wolfsburg or if there's a youngster coming on the pitch or something like that. I'm not sure, but there's something she's talking about, that this being a big moment for her or for the team or for someone in the team, and it's a huge moment. The scoreline, the fact that it sends them through to a quarter-final, but the way they've done it has been so impressive.
It might get even better. Harder finds Fleming. I wonder if maybe we're going to see young Fox or Beaver Jones. We'll see. 7 minutes plus stoppage time.
She could have been saying it to Drew Spence. You know, I know she's been a part of the club for a long, long time, and it could be that, you know, you've waited a lot of time for this moment against Wolfsburg. You've been part of the building process.
Yeah.
Because she's been a huge part of Chelsea's success in recent years. She doesn't have as much time on the pitch as she'd wish for at the moment, but whenever she has played, and in the years building up to this point, she's been integral to Chelsea.
100%.
You know, she's often one of those players that's overlooked, but her quality on the ball is fantastic.
I may have mentioned it earlier, but when it all started, yeah, the first one, Glasgow, Wheatsheaf Park.
Yeah.
It was Brighton Spence in central midfield.
And playing in the 2012 FA Cup final, Drew came on, and I think she's one of the players that missed a penalty in the shootout. And I remember her being absolutely devastated. And I'll come back to that in a second.
It might be something for Berger to do. No.
And yeah, she was devastated. And I said to her, look, this moment hurts, and it will hurt, and it should hurt, but your time will come. You're going to have many moments in your career where you will win silverware, and you'll be a big part of that. And thankfully, she's proved me right, and she's gone on to win, I mean, all the trophies that Chelsea have ever won. I think she's been part of in the last few years, and you know, she deserves this moment on the pitch on what is a really special day for Chelsea Football Club.
Engen off. And Lotte Cordes, a replacement. Five minutes plus stoppage time, and Drew Spence is having to wait to come back on again here. Now she can. Normally when you get a standout result like this, that there are positives all over the pitch, and I think that's the case again today, Helen. You could say it. Great for Kirby, great for Harder against a former club, great for Jess Carter coming in and playing like she did. There's everywhere you look, positivity.
Yeah, there's not one player that will walk off the pitch today thinking they should have done more or could have done more. I think every player has done everything they can. They've put in a very good performance in and out of possession, and they've put a world-class side to the sword, and they've absolutely made them pay when they've had their chances. And what a turn that was by G, by the way.
It really was. And here's Kirby, and there are options. Fran Kirby. Well, for once, she didn't pick the right pass, or at least the right execution of it.
I think she was surprised to have so much time. She just kept going with the ball, and no Wolfsburg defender coming towards her. And in the end, I wasn't quite sure who to try and pick out. Looked for G, but just, yeah, put too much on it, and they've ended up having to start again.
Less than a month away, the first leg. Here is Van der Sanden of any semi-final time. Van der Sanden again, Millie Bright staying with her. And Rauk did not get hold of that. Even if the block hadn't have come in, it wasn't on target. Well, he's not been able to find an answer or get that through to his players today. They had a couple of spells, didn't they? Maybe of 5 to 10 minutes each in the first half, where you felt, okay, they might get a goal here, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
in the second leg, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, he can look to the penalty decision, and of course it's a huge moment, but he can't take away from the fact that Chelsea have then gone on to dominate them and have really put them away in this second leg. You know, even from that miss after the penalty, really, once the penalty was scored, yes, it gave Chelsea the away goal, but in the same breath, the job was still quite similar to how it was at the start of the game. Okay, they needed to score 2 goals to take it to extra time, but that was still well within their capabilities to score twice. They've missed that chance, and then the only real way I can describe it is to say they've crumbled since then. And that's got to be more disappointing for him than the decision of the penalty itself. To have allowed Kerr to get into the position for it to even be a decision for the referee to make will be disappointing in the first instance. So as much as he won't like the decision, he also has to look at his team and, you know, and what's happened since then.
Yes, it's not been the reactions of a champion. I heartily agree with that. We've got a minute and a bit plus stoppage time. Oh, it's a brilliant pass off the floor from Pernilla Harder, who apparently can do everything now, including that. Yes, this is... they've made a really, really good side look average. That's a good pass, though. Nothing average about that towards Jacabi. Out came Berger. The lob is on. And Berger will not let it through. No, you don't.
Yeah, that's probably the first moment, really, where Chelsea have looked a bit out of shape and a bit out of sync with each other. One ball sort of over the top. Goalkeeper's been caught a bit, done well there, and then recovered very well. But I think you were right. It was the lob that would have caused Berger a few more problems. She perhaps needed to go in the air there. But saying that, it's not easy to lob a 6-foot goalkeeper.
Wolfsburg have a corner in the final minute of the game, for what it's worth. G with Fleming. And this being UEFA, 4 added minutes, even though goal difference can't ever make any difference to anything. No one needs to be on this pitch now.
No, I think both sides would be more than happy for the whistle to go any second.
But we can't have that, because this is Europe.
Chelsea might get themselves another, who knows.
Right with the back header, and Hoot still full of running, but Berger still has her clean sheet. And in, what, 3 hours of football against Wolfsburg, who score stupid amounts of goals and win stupid amounts of games, it's 1 penalty conceded at the end of the day. That is pretty impressive.
It's not bad going at all, is it? Especially with that hanging over them of, you know, not being able to overcome them. To restrict them to that extent is very impressive.
Harder to right into Kirby, and they're queuing up here. Gee, oh, what a shame. That would have been cake well and truly iced.
And again, G's been fantastic in the short time she's been on the pitch. She's got hold of the ball, and I alluded to it a little bit in the first half, that she's just got such an appreciation of where she is on the pitch, where her teammates are, and what needs to happen with the ball, whether she needs to drive, whether she needs to lend it, whether she needs to try and create something with a defence splitting pass. She just knows what's needed, and more often than not she pulls it off, and that would have really rounded off a nice 10-minute cameo for her.
Yeah, shame, unusual for her to miss the technique and scuff it so badly. Player of the year in her first year. We were talking about that earlier. 2014 it was.
I actually think we take her for granted a little bit now in the WSL.
Definitely, because she's part of the furniture.
Yeah, because she's been there for so long, you just expect it. So a world-class performance isn't out of the ordinary. And so we kind of just say, yeah, okay, it's G, she's done it again. Yeah. And it goes under the radar, which is crazy to say.
You're right, you see, if you see Kerr or Harder doing it,
yeah,
it seems more obvious because, you know, big money was spent and they're more, you know,
and they're brand new and shiny. Yeah.
Heralded, more newly heralded, expensive, absolutely shiny and new. And here is Harder, who's definitely shone, and as has Kerr, as so many of them have in this type. Pernilla Harder has very much come back to haunt her former club.
Brilliant.
The right pass played. Here's G. There is time for one more. It nearly got through.
I thought that was going through.
Fran Kirby on her haunches was just waiting. Would surely have gobbled up at yet another chance. Here's Fleming. Take note, watching Planet Football. Technically a 3-0 away win for Chelsea at Wolfsburg, albeit not quite where we're used to seeing Wolfsburg play.
in a way even more difficult because both home and away legs are in such unfamiliar surroundings. But no, fantastic. And the drive, look, they're still looking to score more goals. They know they don't need to. They're still looking to create deep in injury time.
Pernilla Harder. Oh, it's awkward coming around the back. Again, Kirby was in the middle waiting for, I think it was Gura right in the arriving even.
That was a wonderful pass from Harder. I wasn't sure what she'd seen there until Wrighton arrived right on cue. And again, unusual for her to have scuffed that finish. It would have been some goal.
A look at the watch and a blow of the whistle that confirms Chelsea are in the Champions League semi-finals again. 4th time lucky. They've slain the Wolves. A knockout and a scoreline of genuine eyebrow-raising proportion here. And even that little celebration there from Emma Hayes tells you a lot, Helen Ward.
It does. You don't often see that outward emotion from her. And that shows, I think, you know, exactly what we said not long ago, that they've been waiting for this moment. This is a big part of Chelsea's growth, and it's you know, okay, they're in the semi-final now, they haven't won anything, but this is a big moment, and I think she realises that.
She said 6 years ago, that's where I want to get to, and I believe we can. Well, Chelsea have scaled the mountain and have got to the top of it, and now it'll probably be Wolfsburg's own nemesis, Bayern. A Champions League semi-final is coming. Chelsea haven't just beaten Wolfsburg, they've smashed them. 3-0 here, 5-1 on aggregate. It's a big day in the history of Chelsea women's football.